A girl lied to her family that she was going to a friend's house, but really she was going to an orgy with some strangers from the internet. And now they are all in trouble. Our story begins with a 14-year-old girl named Molly. Molly had recently gotten into a bad crowd at school. Her friends Brittany, Tiffany, and Ashley were all mean girls who would do anything to get their way. They would bully other students, steal things from them, and even beat them up. At first, Molly didn't like this, but then one of the girls said to her, "Don't be such a killjoy. Just go along with it. So much fun." And for some reason, Molly believed her. And so she became a bad girl, just like the others. One day after school, Molly's mom, Sarah, asked her where she wanted to go for the weekend. "Oh, I don't know," she said. "Can I go to Brittany's house?" "Well, I don't know," said Sarah. "You two don't really get along that well. Why don't you go to Ashley's house? She seems like a nice girl." "I don't want to go to Ashley's house," said Molly. "Then why don't you just stay home and watch a movie?" "Okay," said Molly. But when Sarah turned around, she heard her daughter laughing and talking on the phone. Curious. Sarah went over and listened in. "Yeah, I'll come over," Molly was saying. "But please don't tell my parents. If they knew, I wouldn't be able to come." "Why is that?" asked Sarah. Startled, Molly hung up. When Sarah asked her who she was talking to, Molly simply said, "No one." And so Sarah let it go. She didn't want to embarrass her daughter, so she just gave her a warning to not sneak around. Then she went back to her room to do some work. For the next few days, Molly called her mother a lot of names, which was very unlike her. She thought her mother was being so embarrassing, and she couldn't wait to go to Ashley's house. Finally, Friday came around, and Molly got everything ready for her trip. She packed some clothes, put on her favorite makeup, and grabbed her phone. Then she walked out the door and headed over to Ashley's house. Well, actually, she wasn't going there at all. Instead, she took the bus downtown, where she met up with 3 strangers. All of them were male, and all of them were old enough to be Molly's father. The guys had met Molly online, and she'd convinced them that she was 18 years old. Now that they were finally meeting in person, they were super excited. Molly, on the other hand, was extremely nervous. And Mark tried to make conversation with her. He asked her about school and what her favorite subject was. I like science," she said. Mark smiled and told her that he used to love science class. Then they all got into his car and drove to a motel. When they arrived, Molly felt even more nervous. What if the girl's parents showed up? What if she found out she was being recorded? What if someone leaked the video online? Mark seemed to sense that Molly was getting scared, so he said, "Hey, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you." And then he kissed her on the cheek. Molly felt disgusted, but she didn't want to upset Mark, so she just stayed silent. They checked into the motel and went straight to the room. Inside, there was a bed, a TV, and a table. The men sat down on the bed and started making weird noises. "What are you guys doing?" asked Molly. "We're just relaxing," said Mark. But then he did something even weirder. He started taking off his shirt. Molly screamed and tried to run out of the room, but one of the men blocked the door. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked. I just want to go home," she said. The man laughed and said, "You can't go anywhere, you're with us now." And then he unlocked the door and let her go. Molly ran to the bathroom and locked herself inside. She didn't know what to do. Should she call 911? Who would believe her? She was just a 14-year-old girl. Maybe if she made it look like she was kidnapped, then people would believe her. So she took off her clothes and put on the guy's shirt. Then she wrote, "Help me," on the bathroom mirror with lipstick. Meanwhile, Mark was getting impatient. He didn't want to wait any longer, wanted Molly, and he was going to make sure he got her. He knocked on the bathroom door and said, "Hey, little girl, I'm going to ask you one more time. Where do you think you're going?" I just want to use the bathroom," she said. Mark laughed and said, "Oh, honey, you can use me as a toilet." Then he broke the door open and started coming towards her. But before he could do anything, Molly screamed as loud as she could. That's when Sarah burst through the door and slapped Mark across the face. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she asked. Mark was taken aback. He didn't expect anyone to come in and interrupt him. Nothing," he stammered. I was just helping this young lady with her zipper." Sarah didn't buy it for a second. She could tell that her daughter was scared out of her mind. So she picked her up and whispered in her ear, "It's okay. I'm here now. No one's going to hurt you." Then she turned to the other men and said, "Get out now." The men didn't resist. They knew they were in trouble. so they quickly left the motel room. Once they were gone, Sarah hugged her daughter tightly. She couldn't believe how careless she had been. How could she have let this happen to her baby girl? After a while, Molly finally calmed down and explained what had happened. Sarah was furious. She couldn't believe that those men would target her own daughter. She immediately called the police, and the men were arrested. As for Molly, she was traumatized by the experience. She couldn't sleep at night, and she had nightmares about the men. She also became very withdrawn and stopped talking to her friends. Sarah knew that she needed to do something to help her daughter, so she took her to a therapist. With the help of the therapist and her mother, Molly was eventually able to move on from the incident. However, the scars of that day would never fade. Now, many people might think that it was Sarah's fault that Molly was taken to the motel. But I don't think that's true. Sure, she should have been more careful. But how could she have known that her daughter was going to sneak out of the house and go to a motel with complete strangers? In fact, I think Sarah was a good mother who did everything she could to protect her daughter. She called the police and made sure the men were arrested. And she also took her daughter to a therapist to help her cope with the trauma. As for the men, they definitely deserve some punishment. I mean, how could they target a 14-year-old girl? It's just wrong. But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.